Welcome back to Goan Law for the Layman. In the last few videos, we've discussed the law of succession, and today we're going to discuss the law of marriage in the state of Goa. So, how are marriages solemnized in the state of Goa and what is the procedure? Let's find out. So, before coming to the procedure of marriage, let us see who can marry whom in the state of Goa. So, most of the restrictions that you would find in the rest of India, you will also find under the Goan law, such as the girl has to be at least 18 years of age, the boy has to be at least 21 years of age, their consent should be free, they should be of sound mind, they should not be in a subsisting marriage with another person, and they should not be within blood relations. So, besides these common restrictions, there is one more special restriction in the Goan law, that is, if the girl is below the age of 21 years, she also requires the written consent of her parents, and without the written consent of her parents, she cannot get married. So, having discussed the restrictions, let us see what is the procedure of marriage in the state of Goa. First and foremost, in the state of Goa, marriages have to be compulsorily registered, otherwise, they are not valid marriages. So, marriages are either registered with the civil registrar, and there are certain variations in church marriages and foreign marriages, but more or less all marriages have to be compulsorily registered. So, let us now discuss the procedure of civil registration of marriage in the state of Goa. So, the marriage registration takes place before the civil registrar, and it is the duty of the civil registrar to make sure that the marriage does not suffer from impediments. That is, he has to make sure that the marriage does not fall within any of those prohibited categories. So, basically, the parties will appear before the registrar, which is located within the residential area of one of the spouses. So, once they appear before the registrar, they have to make a declaration containing particulars such as their names, surnames, their addresses, their age, and the same particulars of their respective parents. And this declaration will be accompanied by documents such as residence certificate of one of the spouses, the birth certificates of both the spouses, and such other identity documents as may be required. Besides this, if one of the spouses is below the age of 21 years, which we had just discussed, then the written consent of the parents would also have to be furnished at this stage. So, also, if the parties wish to enter into any kind of prenuptial agreement, then the parties can submit such a prenuptial agreement along with the declaration. Now, once this declaration is furnished, the registrar will publish a notice on his notice board inviting members of the general public to object in case there are any impediments or restrictions to the marriage. Now, if both the spouses reside in two different areas, then this notice will have to be also published in the registrar's office where the other spouse resides. So, the notice will be published in two different places, and this notice will stay up on the notice board for a period of 10 days, compulsorily covering at least 2 Sundays. So, if the second Sunday does not get covered within these 10 days, then you have to wait until the second Sunday is covered. And this period is basically, like I said, to invite objections of the general public. So, if any objections are received by the registrar pointing out any kind of impediments to the marriage, then the marriage will not be solemnized. If no objections are received, then the registrar will proceed to the next step, that is solemnization of the marriage. Now, this entire step can be skipped if you obtain an exemption from the local public prosecutor. A public prosecutor can exempt this period of 10 days if there is any urgency or if there is any valid justification. So, if you get an exemption from a public prosecutor, then you can skip this step of waiting for 10 days and you can immediately proceed to the next step of solemnization of marriage. So, once this step is completed, that is either an exemption is obtained or if no objections are received after 10 days, then the registrar will proceed to solemnize the marriage, at which point both the parties have to remain present along with two witnesses. And if the clause regarding minority applies, that if the wife is below the age of 21 years, then the parents of that wife will have to also remain present. And at this juncture, the registrar will once again confirm the particulars of all the parties, make sure that the parties are freely consenting for this marriage, and make sure that they are major in age and that there are no restrictions to the marriage. And after confirming all these aspects, the marriage will be registered. The registrar will make an entry in the marriage register. And once this is done, the registrar will issue a marriage certificate and your marriage registration process will be completed. So that was all about civil marriages in the state of Goa. In the next video, we will be discussing church marriages and foreign marriages. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel to stay in the loop. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.